Hey everybody, it's Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy. Welcome to the Outstanding Life podcast, and I am here at the Spike Ranch today with Mr. Chuck Dodge. We got Redbeard in the house, and right now we are interviewing my good friend Tom Whitmire. Tommy D, what is going on, buddy?
Aloha, Johnny D. I hope you're having a sprout-standing day.
I am. It's even better now. Thank you for coming back from Florida to hang out with us here in nice, beautiful Michigan. I mean, today was beautiful. It was 42 degrees today. In Florida, I think it was like 82, but you don't miss that at all.
I don't miss that, and even though it was cold out, I still went outside and walked around the block and got my exercise and fitness and sunlight in.
Tommy, I appreciate you being on the Outstanding Life podcast. I've known you for 15, 16 years now, and you are probably one of the most interesting men I know. I mean, I know that we're sitting at a table right now with Redbeard and we got Chuck Dodge, and they are interesting people. But Tommy, I mean, your story is, I've never met anybody that can just pick up and go. And you always say, as long as I have my computer, I can show up in a parking lot and get Wi-Fi anywhere. I can work from anywhere. And, you know, being so interesting, I want to know what your childhood was like. Let's just start off there.
Wow, John. I was born in Flint, Michigan, raised in Flushing, Michigan, to two loving parents.
Which I love your parents.
Thank you. They, my mother breastfed me till I was 3 months old.
Still probably is.
So grew up, dad was a high school principal, coach. Mom was a first grade teacher. So really focused on high academic success. I chose to enjoy athletics. So I had a focus on athletics, which led all the way through high school. And I like to tell the story of 1968. I wasn't alive, but my dad was alive, attending Flushing High School in 1968. And he set the school record in the 220-yard dash, which is the equivalent of the 200 meters.
You're right.
30 years later, 1998, Flushing High School, same high school Brent Leponzi went to. 30 years later, my dad's the high school principal of the school I attend. It's my senior year, up on the record boards. It still says 200 record, Gary Whitmire. I played, baseball, but I quit. I was running track, pretty good. I'm supposed to break my dad's record. In the conference finals, I hit the tape. They announced Tom Whitmire, brand new school record in the 100-meter dash. So now you go into Flushing Gymnasium. There it is, up on the wall. 100-meter dash, Tom Whitmire, 200 meters, Gary Whitmire. The following year, here comes my younger brother, young Mike Whitmire. And he's supposed to be good at the 400-meter dash. And we're going to have 32 years of records. Lo and behold, it's the conference finals. I happen to be taking a high school or a college class at Carmen Ainsworth, where the track was. I go my class. I come out to the track. Everybody's looking at me weird, giving me these strange looks. People won't say anything to me. I walk up to bleachers. My coach, my old coach, my father are sitting there, and they just start cracking up laughing, Johnny. Why are they laughing?
Why are they laughing?
Because my brother didn't get the 400-meter record. He broke my record. allegedly broke my record in the 100 meters.
No kidding.
I still challenge it. So the next season, I come home. I'm in home from college, and we go up to the Flushing track, and my dad and I are holding the finish line. My brother comes through the finish line. They announce on the loudspeakers, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Whitmire has just broken his dad's record in the 200 meters. So my brother never got the 400-meter record, but he stole my record and he stole my dad's record from me. So that was kind of the, childhood. It was that athletic success. I played basketball, won a Big Nine Conference championship, played football. Was the captain of the team, started both ways. We were 10-0.
Was your whole family
ranked number 2 in the state?
Were you guys very competitive? Your brother,
we
your
were
dad?
very competitive. Every cousin I had, every relative somehow participated in Flushing athletics in some sort, whether they were a all-state golfer or softball, football, whatever it might have been. We all kind of had success, but then we all were. That was our hobby. That's what we got to do because we had academic success. Right. And in academics, it kind of led to being all well-rounded. So I was the homecoming most valuable player, voted. And the girl that I was dating, my girlfriend at the time, on the same day was voted homecoming queen.
Wow.
So you got to, the benefits of being smart, sort of handsome, and having some athletic success. And later that year, our senior year in the senior superlatives, we were both voted best personality.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we went on to Michigan State University.
Yep.
So that's where my college. So I did not pursue a career in athletics at the university.
So you played football,
varsity athletics, I did not, because I did get diagnosed with like an Epstein-Barr chronic fatigue. We don't know what this is, and there's nothing we can do for you.
Right.
Right before my senior year.
So did you play football too?
At high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mention that multiple times.
Well, you did say that
I was
the
starting running back and then starting defensive back, captain of the team, and we actually won 10 games in a row. We're ranked number 2 in the state before I broke my wrist on the first play of the game.
No kidding.
When in Michigan, when you start your athletics in the summer, it's 100 degrees, but when you get to the playoffs, it was like 28 degrees with 4 inches of snow. So it becomes a whole different game.
Yeah. Wow. So then you go to Michigan State.
At Michigan State, it was an intramural All-American. Self-coined term, intramural All-American. I played 11 different intramural sports at Michigan State, and then was entered in the Lyman Briggs College, which is actually pursuing kind of a science or biology background.
Okay.
This is, when our computer class in college didn't even involve us touching computers. That's why I say I'm not a millennial. So I was born August 14th, 1979. So A, I was born in the 70s. B, I never had a cell phone in high school. I never had a cell phone in college. And in college, I was still handwriting papers.
Right.
So, and then that kind of progressed to the next year. I'd handwrite the whole thing. And then I figured, well, I'll type the final draft on the computer. And then by my third year, it was actually, the computers had made their way, and we had T3 lines and Ethernet and internet, and I was finally writing papers. That's why I claim I'm not a millennial.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So you go to state and you graduate there with what kind of degree?
I ended up being
all of a sudden he's like,
I ended up switching to the business college, and then I joined the business organization there. I actually had a degree in food industry management at the time, and I think they were just too lazy. They saw FIM and just thought I miswrote it as FIN and had me down as a finance major the whole time. So I think they thought I was a little bit smarter than I was. Then I walked into a counselor's office, and she said, "Oh, well, we have a study abroad program in Hawaii." And I said, "Hawaii?" She looked at me and said, "You sound interested. I'm going to sign you up." And I said, "Well, I should probably ask my parents."
Right.
I was signed up, and my dad kind of said, "Well, if you're already signed up, okay." Because he knew if I did a summer program, got 10 credits, then he wasn't going to have to pay for another semester of lodging and food, which I consumed a lot of. So the summer before the senior year of college, I did 10 credits. 28 of us got on an airplane as complete strangers, and within 2 days, we were all best friends, landed in the big island of Hawaii, where our professor was born and raised, and she had contacts for over 25 years that we got to take advantage of. So we were some of the only white people or haoles from the mainland that was ever invited to some of these sacred homelands and sacred celebrations and some of their waterfalls, and got to participate in what they do as a local indigenous people because we were coming there as students of life.
Right.
And Michigan State had that program for over 25 years. And the people of Hawaii, they like the Dallas Cowboys and the Michigan State Spartans, because Michigan State was one of the first teams or first universities to go over there and recruit athletes from Hawaii. And a lot of them went on to have success in either the NFL or got a degree, came back and were leaders in the community.
Okay.
So people really respect Michigan State. And so they respected us as students there. And we really absorbed their culture and what it meant to kind of live that aloha spirit and just really relate to the Hawaiian people. And that's where I picked up aloha. And I'll just give you a little anecdote. This is pre-Uber for the viewers. There's no such thing as Uber. We actually had to ride the bus, and their bus there is called the bus, and taxis are called the taxi. And their phone number is just the same number. It's 888-888-8888 because it's Hawaii. They make it up.
Right, yeah.
So we take the bus to Sandy's Beach. We're having an amazing time body surfing in the ocean. We watch the sunset, and we're standing at the bus waiting for the bus to come. And some locals are like, hey, the bus stopped running 2 hours ago. So we're as far as you can go in the opposite direction. We don't know what we're going to do. And we're just kind of standing there. We don't own cell phones. There's no cell phones at this time. There's no Uber. There's no apps. There's no nothing. We don't know anybody. And two local Hawaiians, surfer bros with surfboards in the back, said, what's going on? They said, hop in the pickup, we'll give you a lift. So our intent was they just give us a lift back to the college campus in Honolulu, just to the campus. They took us all the way to our actual apartment dorms that we were staying at. We all chipped in money to give them money to the door.
How many people was with you?
Four of us in the back of a pickup. And they said, we're not going to take your money. You just tell everybody that the aloha spirit lives, and then you just reciprocate this story into the world and let it spread. And these were just, 20-some-year-old kids in Hawaii, and we just embodied that spirit. And I've kind of taken it, through life with me. I
love that. And Chuck, you're going to agree with what I'm about to say, because I know the story after college. And I think that now that I hear this story, now it all makes sense why you're like this free spirit. Because after college, I want you to talk about after graduating college, you literally, I don't know if it was given to you, if you bought the minivan. I want you to talk about right after college, you didn't go to work. You wanted another, let's just say you wanted to hang out,
discover. So it was as I the dusty window of a 1997 Dodge Caravan Gold.
Was it your grandparents?
It was my parents.
Your parents. Okay.
It was a third car. It was kind of, transitioning. And I took my finger in the dust of the car. I wrote "Quest for Greatness" in the dust on the back window, took a picture of it, and just started driving. Maybe it was, my Jimmy Buffett discovery. I want to go out in the world and make a name for myself.
What did your parents think when you said that you were just going to get in the van and just drive for a little while?
I think my mom probably cried.
They do that.
I think a Redbeard's poor mother sometimes, and she can verbally bring into words that feeling when your son. It's basically, I don't care what you do, but you have to think about how this reflects on me.
Right.
That's been the whole thing, and obviously I haven't cared.
I love this story about you just getting in a van, literally in a minivan, and driving. So
I transitioned from graduating from college on like May 5th. And within a few days, I was up in northern Michigan, living in my parents' log cabin, kind of like a Chuck Dodge Thoreau aspect of just living off the land in a log cabin. There's no phones. There's only electricity, no heat, no air conditioning, boating, biking, kayaking, canoeing, fishing. And then I started making log furniture by hand. So my parents were like, why would you spend to my parents $500? I can make that by hand. Go for it. So I go from making log furniture to then say, okay, October's come. It's getting cold. I have to go set sail on this adventure. went to Chicago, got a parking ticket for parking within like the first 12 hours and said, I'm done with this. Left Chicago and just kind of dead-ended, going through, kind of hopping through college campuses. So seeing, Penn State University, taking advantage of their amenities there until I wound up in New York City in about the Halloween time.
Okay.
And I got to give a nod to my cousin Chuck, because he did put me up for a couple of days there in Columbus, Ohio, and had experiences that I will never forget there. But I ended
you
up
weren't
in
living
New York
in the van
City.
Or anything, were you? You actually you had hotels in the
My
colleges,
friend,
right?
I was living in the van the whole time. I had modified the whole thing, all the windows I could block out. And I had couch cushions down there. I had like drawers built into the back.
So staying at your cousin's was a big deal. You're like,
That was
yes,
a big deal.
I get a couch.
And
At one time, was it down by the river?
So go ahead. So you're in New York.
You're the inspirational speaker, not me.
So you're in.
So I make it.
Right, that's a Chris Farley.
Yeah.
I make it eventually to New York City. Who drives to Manhattan? Nobody. I drive a minivan into Manhattan. I'm in Times Square. And I pull over just to kind of gain my bearings. And I realize that this meter is broken. I don't know the rules or not, but there's only one parking spot closer to Times Square than this spot. And I park there and I decide I'm going to leave my car here. So I leave my car there. And I go into like a McDonald's, change into a suit, and I go out I'm going to discover New York, the Big Apple, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. And I got my resume in hand, and I'm going to march. So I decide where I'm going to march. I'm going to march here. I'm going to march there. I march into the corporate headquarters of Playboy, Johnny D.
See, I couldn't wait to do this podcast with you. I have no idea about any of this. Are you kidding me? What were we going to do?
I didn't know what I was going to do, but the elevator's open. There's the most beautiful receptionist you've ever seen in your entire life, as you might imagine. And the big Playboy bunny there, and everything's to the nines. And I said, I'm here to apply for a job. And she doesn't get rid of me. She asks me a couple questions, takes my resume. I feel, okay, I've really made an impact here. I get into the elevator. I've kind of just taken it all in. Oh, this is a great experience. I can't wait to write about this. I'm taking a journal/book called Quest for Greatness. I'm writing about all my experiences. The door opens. I walk out again. I'm 5 steps, and I realize that I never actually hit the button to go back down to the lobby. And the door had opened in front of the same receptionist without me realizing I'm like a total idiot who just walked in again, like reenacting this. I gain my bearings. I go to the NBC building, Rockefeller Center. If anybody goes to New York City, go to the Rockefeller building and go to the Rainbow Room. I hope it still exists. The Rainbow Room's probably one of the best views in New York City. As I'm walking down the sidewalk again, I kind of have like a resume. I'm going to go in here and figure this out. I see there's one person walking towards me, and they got their head down at, just staring at their feet, this beat up brown leather jacket. And within 5 steps of this person, all of New York City, there's not a single person on the sidewalk. I look, and it's Conan O'Brien. So Mr. Conan O'Brien himself had just walked by me. I will say one of the only times I've been lost for words. I'm completely lost for words. I take 5 steps back to him, decide I have to follow him. I follow him into the NBC building, to the elevators. He kind of shows a path. I just walk in like I'm with him, but I don't go in the elevator. I'm standing there 2 feet from him. He's in the elevator. Doors are closing, and I said nothing. Completely froze. But I put it in my mind, Johnny. I put it in my mind, and there will be a callback later on this, a callback. So I have one more stop that I want to make. I want to go to the HBO headquarters, are right there in downtown New York City as well. So I got my suit on, I checked my car. It's still there. Somebody
Minivan's
tried
still
to
there.
sell
His
me
house.
some cheap fake tag watch for $20. Of course, I bought one because, great deals from these street vendors. Got my new watch. I walk into the headquarters of HBO. There's a lady at a desk there. I go up to the lady. I'm like, I'm here to talk to the head of comedy. I have a great idea for a TV show. She said, you can't just walk in here, ask to talk to somebody. She says, you're going to have to think of something better. So I mill around. I ask the security guard what I should do. And he says, this is also the days of, and not everybody has a cell phone. So there's
Right.
actual phone in the lobby. So he says, well, you could go over to that directory, look up to see who's the comedy director, and what their office is, then approach her and say the name and the office and that you need to talk to her. Great idea. So I go back to the receptionist lady and I say, I'm here to talk to Carol Strauss, Director of Comedy Development, Office 274. And she looks at me, gives me I know damn well what just happened. I know exactly what just happened. I don't know why, but this is your lucky day. Nod to me. Gives me her number and points me back to this phone. I call the phone. She gets on the phone. And at this time, I was a fan of HBO. And this is the woman whose name rolls on the credit when it says Curb Your Enthusiasm. I pitched to her over the phone that
She
my
took your
friends.
call?
Yes, and let's do a pitch. I said, my friends and I love Curb Your Enthusiasm, but it has nothing to do with the college 18 to 25 demographic. Shouldn't you be going for that demographic? I said, right now you have Curb Your Enthusiasm, Mind of the Married Man, and like 6 Feet Under. I said, why not have a college? My friends and I wrote, 3 different screenplays, episodes in the same style. She said, I'll be right down. Oh my God. Brent Leponzi, I'm looking at you right now thinking, what am I possibly going to do next? I don't actually have anything.
Seal the deal. Seal the deal.
I don't actually have anything here to show her. So she comes down, we sit down in the lobby and I pitch these ideas. She says, you can't do anything unless you come back to me with a binder. Here's all my contact information. She's nice enough that she puts her arm around me. We get a picture together. She goes back upstairs. I profusely thank the receptionist who gave me the nod and the number, and she kind of just gave me the don't let me down nod. So I leave New York City. I'm excited. I'm journaling all this into kind of what became a 364-page book. Head up through like Sanford, Connecticut into Rhode Island, like touring stuff, roadsides attractions, going to submarine bases. I wind up in Portland, Maine. I'm having dinner at a place called Norm's, and I got these 2 Chuck E. Cheese / Showbiz pizza place coin dispensers. And the coin dispensers each hold $20 worth of quarters. And I have 2 of those in my pocket. And my thing as I'm traveling is like, I want to meet people.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to give somebody a nudge to think you're interested. We don't all have silver and gray beards and, like Redbeard next to me. So I paid for my dinner everywhere I went with stacks of quarters. So the guy next to me sees me stacking quarters, thinks that's odd, strikes up a conversation with me. Lo and behold, he's a lobbyist in Portland, Maine. That's the government. And he starts giving me advice, of which I wrote about in my book, and like a couple places that I should go on my quest for greatness, which I kind of have a theory. If you don't know, ask somebody. And if they provide you with information or a place to go, then you should probably go there.
Yeah, yeah.
So I decided I'm going to hang out in Maine for a little bit and then do, catch up on my work. So I go down to a marina. It's November 5th. It's getting cold. I'm hanging out in a marina and watching all the lobstermen bring in their traps, and they're loading their traps on the shores. And I'm writing about how I'm going to be a sailboat and with my sails, and I'm going to go here and there. And a gentleman pulls his sailboat into the marina and starts to back it down like he's going to launch it. It's freezing cold out. Why would this guy be doing it? I walk over there just to get out, stretch, say hello to him. And he looks at me and says, "Got any tools?" Nothing else. Doesn't say anything else, but got any tools? So I asked him what his story is. He'd been working on the sailboat all year. He got it to the point where he could sail it. It's the last day that it's still freezing cold. It's the last day. It's not going to snow. He wants to get it. I go get my tools. We're ratcheting, like putting up the mast, putting on the boom, putting up the sails, like finishing touches on the boat. He goes, "I don't know how I can thank you other than to ask you, would you like to go sailing with me?"
Wow.
So I'm in this winter coat, boots. I have on a winter hat, winter gloves, and I grab a camera, real camera. We didn't have cell phone cameras.
Right.
And I get in this sailboat and we're sailing through the bay. We're kind of exchanging some talk. He's a doctor, cardiologist in med school, whatever it may be. And as he sails from where the bay meets the open ocean wind gusts are a lot stronger than a bay. And a tremendous gust whips the sail down to the water. The ocean waves roll over the sail, putting the sail completely underwater. The boat flips. He flips out of the boat. I'm standing on like the mast and like the boom seam, and he's screaming how in order to save this, I have to lower myself into what I think is the frozen depths and disaster of the ocean.
Yeah.
And I did. So I had to, like, even though I saved myself and I'm looking at this idiot floating in the ocean, and I will preference my mother here, who for years has yelled at me to wear a life jacket.
Yeah.
The one time I go sailing in the open ocean in a tiny boat that we just had built personally 10 minutes prior, I'm not wearing a life jacket. He's doggy paddling. I lower myself into the ocean and he screams, your tools, they're floating away," with a little bit of enthusiasm. He had like a waterproof bag that floats, put my tools in it in case we had any problems. It's floating one way. All the other stuff that had fallen out of the boat's floating the other way. So we're swimming to gather all the stuff. We get the boat back. Somehow we get in the boat. We get the boat flipped back upright and kind of like dog paddle our way to the shore. So we get out. It's freezing cold.
Did you ever feel like you were going to die?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's freezing cold. We like beach the boat. We take a moment and he says something to the equivalent of, "Why don't you come back to my place? We'll get a change of clothes and then we're going to come back here and get the boat." I'm like, "Why would we come back and get the boat?" He's like, "We got about an hour before the tide comes in, takes the boat, and I'll never see it again."
Yeah.
So we tie the boat off. The next thing I know, why I'm in the shower of some strange man, because everything happened so fast. I'm in the shower and it hits me like, is this a trap? Like, did this guy show up because he was going to get a sucker? He's going to flip the boat. Now I'm in the shower. He's got access to everything. I've told him my whole story. Lo and behold, it was completely opposite of that. Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, Chuck Dodge here on my right, and Brent Redbeard Laponzi on my left. Redbeardsauction.com, chuckdodge.com, themotivationalcowboy.com. You can find me at tomwhitmire.com. Ends up, he's a wonderful human being. He has a week off of schooling in his doctoral program. He wanted to go sailing. He gives me a change of clothes. We go back. We get in the boat again after bailing all the water out of it. Bailed all the water forever. Get it around.
You're more of a man than me because I don't know about
dock.
you guys. I would not be getting back in the boat.
Yeah, we get it around to the dock. He backs it up. I'm pulling the boat up. The boat kind of won't get onto the trailer. It's a stick shift vehicle. It's very complicated. Backing, small like Volkswagen station wagon. You don't want the tailpipe in the water. So he's backing that up. We kind of lose track. We focus on the car for one moment, and I look, and the boat was slowly floating back out into the ocean. So I had to go back up to about my chest again to get the boat, get it on the boat. at this point, he says, you might as well come back to my house. I'm having a dinner party tonight. So I changed my clothes
Did
again.
he know you were living in your van?
I didn't tell him at that point. The next thing I know, there's a famous author who writes for GQ magazine who published one of my favorite books called Driving Mr. Albert, a trip across America with Albert Einstein's brain by Michael Paterniti. There's another writer who writes, she kind of broke the story of the Lost Boys of Sudan. It's what she's famous for, Sarah Corbett. And there's college professors, and we're around this table having this great thing, and we're kind of telling the story, and the person said, I don't even know you. How long have you two been friends? Thinking we've been friends for life. We'd been friends for 2 hours. We just had a bonding experience. Later that night, I confessed that I wasn't actually staying at the Fairfield Inn. I was sleeping in my car in the parking lot of the Fairfield Inn, and it was currently snowing. So he invited me to stay a couple days at his house in his extra bedroom. We went to his cabin in northern Maine to winterize his bikes. We went to an antique store, bought old books, and I bought this 1897 Bible that I still have. That's just colored. And from there, Johnny D, it just progressed to one adventure after another as I traveled down the coast from Maine through the New Hampshires and everything. Before I wrap the story up, it does have some impact. I wound up at Yale University, where I wrote 8 more episodes of a TV show. When you have adversity and you have a reason to do something, and if you don't have a crisis, create one. I had a crisis, and all of a sudden stuff would just flow to me. Mm-hmm. So in Yale University, I wrote all these episodes, and then I snuck into what is kind of like their foreign language computer lab. And while everybody else is talking to microphones with headphones on, saying the Spanish word and the English word,
Hey, Tommy, that is a train, everybody, going by while we're doing the podcast here at the ranch. So
Spikehorn Ranch, Brent Creek, Michigan, redbeardsauction.com/canoe, redbeardsauction.com/trees.
So I just had to throw that in there to look.
So
them up.
I
That
printed
was not
an entire binder worth of 10 episodes.
And this was for
authors,
the HBO lady, right?
I cover sheets, put it all in the binder, had myself a copy as well. I hand wrote what I call a pamphlet. So the gentleman I went sailing with, we had this big joke about pamphlets and pamphleteers. I hand wrote an entire set for Conan O'Brien about how I should be a guest, and I would just be a completely normal dude that just showed up in like a green leisure suit. And I told Conan O'Brien everything I thought was wrong with his show and how he could improve it. that he always had his skits after the first guest, but nobody tunes in to see the guest. They tune in to see the skits, or they tune in to see the guest as parts of the skits. That's now the standard for late night talk shows. Yeah. I'd like to think that I invented that. So I have all this material. So 2 weeks to the minute, I park in the same parking spot. I put on the same suit, change in McDonald's. I figure Conan O'Brien's probably walking down that same sidewalk at the same time all the time. I stand there for an hour. He never comes by. But I got this thing. I'm dressed up. I go right into the receptionist at the NBC building and say, I have a pamphlet from Mr. O'Brien. And they send me into the NBC mailboxes. No chaperone, as if I knew where I was going. And I put this pamphlet directly in his mailbox. So then I go to HBO studios. Exactly 2 weeks later, the same receptionist is there. And I said, I was here 2 weeks ago, and you really helped me out. And because of that, I got you this candle. And I got her a beautiful beeswax candle. Beeswax candles by Mr. Redbeard. Spikehorn Ranch, redbeardsauction.com/pollinators. Of course she remembered me. And then I said, I spent the last 2 weeks putting together this binder that Miss Strauss recommended. She said, I'll have her come down. And then we came down. I took another picture. As I handed it to her, we're both holding the binder. Johnny, I'm going to skip ahead to October of the next year. I get a letter in the mail, handwritten from HBO, that basically says that it's wonderful, but they don't have any room in their domestic market for it at this time. But I did get to the point of getting a response. But when I left there, I just thought that I was going to be the world's greatest author and storyteller, that I had my own TV show. Tell Mom I'm a Writer was the name of that chapter, Johnny.
I love that. And we're going to wrap it up and then get back into another segment with you, Tommy. But Chuck, I just want to ask you this, and Tommy, you can chime in here. Red Beard did the same thing. If you want something, you have to ask. And that's exactly what Tommy did. He walked in and just asked. And they gave it to you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the crazy part. You almost died doing it, but I mean, you actually put it together, and sometimes in life, you just have to ask.
Yeah, I think
you have to walk through the door, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to knock on the door.
Well, okay. Mark Victor Hansen and his wife Crystal just wrote a book called Ask. It's bridging where you're at to your dreams. And one of the things that Mark always says, you got to learn to be a master asker. Absolutely.
I love it. Tommy, we'll be right back. Go ahead, Redbeard.
Yeah, I think I'm not a sports guy, but I think Gretzky talks about something like that.
He says you miss every shot that you don't take.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And again, I love that one too. And Tommy, do you have time for another 30 minutes when we come back?
I would love to come back after these special messages.
Well, everybody, I'm Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, telling you, be safe, have fun, and have yourself an outstanding day. Thanks for listening to the Outstanding Life podcast.
Outstanding Life is a Soul Bridge Studio production.